coins started falling everywhere. The second that I opened my bedroom door, a bunch of pennies showered all over the floor, like from the ceiling. It didn't make any sense. It was like a scene from Matilda. So I've been debating making this video for over 10 years. When I first started a YouTube channel, this is one of the reasons why I started my YouTube channel. Hey guys, it's Jordan. Welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be one of, or probably the most important video that I've ever filmed ever. So I really hope that you watch this video to the end. I have been thinking about how I would make this video, and today I'm going to be telling you guys the entire story around how my brother died and my best friend, and this story is not anything morbid or anything like that, so you don't have to be worried about that, but I just want to share the message that life goes on and the spirit lives on, and I know that in my heart and in my soul, and I wanted to share that with you guys. So, back up to July 2005. This was the last month that we had my brother, and this is the last time that I saw my brother. So I moved back to live with my mom after being kidnapped for 7 years with my brother Bryden. We returned to live with my mom and my stepdad when I was 11 years old on Christmas Day with me and my brother Bryden. And if you guys follow my channel, you know that my dad has passed away. So there was 7 years of my life where it was just Bryden, myself, and my dad. And both my dad and my brother are no longer with us, so I always have these 7 years. And there's nobody really to share those times with or those memories. But my brother didn't have the best relationship with my dad, especially at the time of his passing. So it was 2001 when I moved to Grand Prairie to be with my mom. Me and Bryden packed up and left. Our dad brought us to meet up with my mom and my stepdad, and we moved to Alberta. And we never saw my dad. My dad ended up going to prison. My dad ended up living, he ended up purchasing like a mining plot and lived on a mountain in a bus. My dad ended up living in Nelson, BC, and being somebody that helped out with the homeless community. And that's the last place that he lived. But the summer that my brother passed away, my dad came down and he was planning to visit me and my brother, and I believe we were going to go to Vancouver Island. And my brother did not want to see him, and I could not go to Vancouver Island. So my dad was like a bit upset. We hadn't seen him in years. And then I remember the day that my dad pulled up, and it was like a day before my brother had left on a vacation, and he was going on vacation to Ontario. And my dad showed up, and I remember me and my mom were like arguing with my brother. He didn't even want to go outside. He didn't even want to go say hello to my dad. And I remember him going outside and like talking to him for a couple minutes and coming back in and being like, oh my God, he's like sickly. He looks like he's 85 years old. He looks like he's going to die. And I just remember it being like tension, and it was just like not a loving, warm experience. And there was a lot of hostility, and this is the last time that my brother and my dad ever saw each other. And I went out for a drive with my dad for a couple of hours. We went and saw my grandfather on my dad's side. That was the first time that I've ever met him and stuff like this. And then I went home. My brother ended up leaving that day with his friend Dallin to Ontario, and they were going to Lake of the Woods, Kenora, Ontario, driving from Grand Prairie, Alberta, and they were going to Dallin's sister's wedding. And so they left on this road trip, a bunch of guys in this car across Canada, and it was a couple days later that myself and my two younger brothers and my mom and my stepdad started heading to the Okanagan for our own like month-long summer vacation. And so we headed our way. We were in Revelstoke, and this is like the most vivid, probably, memories of my entire life. We were in this hotel in Revelstoke. We ended up arriving to Revelstoke in the middle of the night. We checked into this random motel, I guess. And I remember opening up a can of Stag chili, and that's what I had for dinner that night. And I remember going to bed. It was really, really hot. And I woke up to a bang at the door, and there was like a really loud knock at the door. And my mom got up, and she went to open the door. And the police officer, it was the police officer at the door, and he said, "Can I speak to?" And she said, "That's me," and I couldn't hear anything that was going on in their conversation. But then I just heard my mom like clutch her hands over her mouth and go, "Oh my God, oh my God," and I remember that so vividly. And I just remember listening like half awake, thinking that it was like a dream, or like hoping that it was a dream. But it's like I could just feel like I knew what happened. And my mom came into the apartment, and the officer asked if she was going to be okay, or if they need to send anybody, and we said that, or she said that she would be fine. And she told us that the police officer had said that Bryden had been found dead. And at this point, I just remember shaking. Like, I had never experienced this in my entire life. I just started like almost convulsing, like I was hardcore, just like shaking, panicking, but mostly my entire body was just shaking. Like I could even feel it on my scalp and my toes, like from deep within my soul was just shaking. And my baby brother was literally only like 3 years old at the time, and my other brother was still extremely young. And I just remember all of us like sitting there huddled on a bed, like in this moment of like, what is going on? And we basically called our vacation off, obviously, and we headed home the next day, like immediately to Grand Prairie, and just canceled the rest of our vacation. So what had happened is the police officer gave us the news that Bryden had drowned at Lake of the Woods, Ontario, in Kenora, or near Kenora, Ontario, at the wedding reception. Essentially, after speaking to the people that were actually there, he said that he was experiencing a headache and was not feeling well, and at the wedding reception, so he decided to go for a walk. And then the last time somebody spotted him, they were like swimming in the water, and he didn't ever come up, and everybody was like, "Where's Bryden? Where's Bryden?" And nobody could find him. And there just happened to be a diver that was there at the beach that had their gear and stuff, and so they went and they dived into the water, and they found him at the bottom of the lake. And at that point they brought him to the shore, and they tried to resuscitate him, and he was pronounced dead after emergency services arrived. And I remember driving home. I remember that drive home from Revelstoke to Grand Prairie. And all I knew is that my brother had drowned, and in my head I'm like, he's a great swimmer. He's way more athletic than I am. He has way more experience swimming. How could this happen? It just didn't make any sense to me. And I didn't cry. I remember just like I said, I shook for like hours. I remember it almost felt like I had the flu. I was freezing cold and burning hot at the exact same time. And the entire drive home for like 24 hours, I just had my face stuck up against the window, just staring out at the mountains and staring out at the trees, and just my mind was just blank. I was wondering why I wasn't crying. I didn't understand. It's not something that you can really plan for or explain how that feels. I was 15 years old. This is the summer after grade 9, and I had just gotten a bunch of trouble with my friends from the neighborhood, and I was actually grounded for the month. And we were on vacation, and then that happened. I remember getting home, and this actually ironically brought together all of our family. All of my aunts and uncles basically hadn't been really communicating with each other. My mom and some of my aunts, I believe, were like fighting with each other for years. We hadn't seen some of my family in years and years and years just because of drama that was going on between parents. And this brought everybody together, as ironic as that is. Like everybody from all over the country, like all of my family members that maybe hadn't seen each other. And as much as it was the loss of somebody that couldn't have meant any more to me, like that was the most important person in my life, really, my best friend, my brother, and somebody that shared these 7 years of my life that could literally be a motion picture. And so yeah, that was the first blessing that I felt from his passing, is that it brought everybody together, and it brought all of my family together, which I feel like everybody needed, and that was something I always wanted, was my family to all be together, and I just wish that it could have been with him. So it's like, it was a feeling of like, why does it take something this traumatic to bring everybody in a family and bring love back together and just let go of just stupid petty things? And so I guess this might explain to you guys why I don't have drama in my life, really. I don't worry about petty things. Like, little things don't really get to me. It's only the big things. I like to talk about deep stuff. I don't like having small talk kind of conversations, because things like this really change the way that you see the world and the way that you think about everything, and like you really realize that life is so short, and no little fight, nothing, no little drama, argument, tension, or hostility is ever worth it. It's not. And so, yeah, I remember being at home, and there was flowers all around me that people had brought from friends and family, and people from school that even were like my bullies were there to support me, and my family. And like, I remember the secretary that I didn't even know from my junior high like offered to bring me out to a movie, and everybody was so supportive to me and my siblings and my family during this time. I remember I was just looking at the computer, and my mom wanted me to pick some songs to play at my brother's funeral, and I couldn't think of anything except for this one song from Brother Bear, and it was super depressing, and my brothers were like, no, we can't play a depressing song at the funeral. And then I found the full song, and it was like so uplifting, and it had the beautiful ending, and I was so happy, and I had to like force them to listen to it. But I was sitting at the computer going through songs, and I think Man in the Mirror, that song by Michael Jackson. My brother was a massive Michael Jackson fan. The other Michael Jackson song is called You Are Not Alone, and it always makes me cry. I can't listen to it without thinking of my brother, and I just started bawling and like screaming, and I was like, and I looked at my mom and I was like, why? I don't understand. Why? And that was the first time that I cried, and the first time that I started to feel this emotion or started to process things. And then we had his funeral, and I remember my cousin Tanya sat beside me, and she held my hand the entire time, and she just kept being like, it's okay to feel, it's okay to let go, it's okay to just like be anything or feel anything. And I didn't cry for this entire funeral, and I remember being like, what is wrong with me? But I just couldn't feel it. Like, I couldn't let myself accept that this was reality at this point. Everybody from school. Like, there was literally like hundreds of people from school that came to support my family, and all of these people now wanted to be my friend. All these people that were my brother's friends. I started high school the next fall, and everybody would be like, "Oh my God, you're Bryden's little brother," and it was like, to me, that was such a gift to see how many people loved him and to see that his energy was living on. But I wanted to share a couple things. As soon as we got back to the house after driving home from Revelstoke, coins started falling everywhere. The second that I opened my bedroom door, a bunch of pennies showered all over the floor, like from the ceiling. It didn't make any sense. It was like a scene from Matilda. All of my family was there to watch this. Everybody started finding coins, like just randomly falling on their lap, or like they would find like a coin behind their ear, like a magic trick, or coins would just drop in front of them wherever they went. And everybody was experiencing this in my family. And then my mom and my aunt went to the Sylvia Browne show in Edmonton. She's like a psychic, and the psychic said that, or the psychic, for one, my aunt randomly got pulled up from the audience to go ask questions with Sylvia Browne, so she gave the ticket to my mom. And Sylvia Browne was saying, "Oh, I realize that you've lost a child," and was saying that the child is leaving behind coins. And meanwhile, I'm at home in Grand Prairie being like, why am I being showered in coins? And then my mom comes home from the Sylvia Browne show, and the psychic has said that he's leaving behind coins. That continued to happen for a couple weeks. I don't know how to otherwise explain that, but that's one way that I felt like my brother was still here. Whether that was him or not, or there's some kind of rational explanation for that, I do not know, but to this day, that's the only way that I perceive it. Me and my brother, I always butted heads with him from like, I don't know, 12 years old onwards, but we were like such best friends for like our entire lives. We used to have like entire imaginary worlds of stuffed animals, and every stuffed animal had a name, and they all had a job, and their families were all like intermingled in this imaginary world that we had created as kids. And we got into so much trouble as children, and we fought so much, but it wasn't until after, like, as a sibling and as a little brother and an older brother, I feel like you have like this natural wanting to be different from each other. And everybody always thought that we were twins growing up and stuff like that too, because we looked alike and we were similar in age. And so I always wanted to be different, but I always looked up to him, and Bryden always wanted to be so different from me. But it wasn't until I was like reading the scholarship fund over the other day, and there's a scholarship fund in his name from my hometown, and it supports people going into the arts and pursuing the arts and dance and music. And I was reading all of the stuff and all of the things that it says about my brother, and I was like, wow, I never really realized how freaking similar that we actually are, because the information about the fund and the scholarship is literally everything that my YouTube channel is about, and everything that I stand for as a person is what this scholarship is looking for other people to support. So I'm like, I literally would be a scholarship recipient if I would have applied to this scholarship, or was like, you know? So I'm like, that's so weird. It's just we took different avenues. My brother was a break dancer. My brother liked to edit like cartoons and create graphic illustrations on the computer, and I like to edit actual footage. And I used to make cartoons and stuff back in my Windows Movie Maker days, but mostly like YouTube videos, and that's the route that I took. And I wanted to be an orthodontist, and my brother wanted to be a chemical engineer, and yeah, he was a break dancer, and I'm a ballet and contemporary dancer, and he played bass guitar and electric guitar, and I played acoustic guitar and keyboard, and I think we both sang, but I never really heard him sing. Growing up in my house, it wasn't a very comfortable place to sing. You'd probably get made fun of. So if anybody sang, it was in their own bedroom. But yeah, I don't know. That was interesting. The spirit lives on. I realize that so many decisions I've made in my life are because I feel so impacted or have been so changed by the loss of my brother, or just by his life in general. And just knowing that life is so short made me change my ideas of going to university and pursuing a career that I didn't want to have, to pursuing the arts and living from my heart. And there's so many things that I've done or set out to do because I'm like, life is short and you have to do all of these things once, and I want to do all the things that my brother wanted to do as well. And that's just something that I feel like I take with me. I still think about him all the time, obviously. I still love him just the same. I still feel just as impacted, and I feel his presence just as much now as I ever have. I will always have 4 brothers. I will never have 3. He just is living on with me, and it doesn't matter how much time has passed. He'll always be my big brother. I just wanted to make this video to let you guys know again that life does go on. I am still thriving. I still feel his love. I don't feel sad or depressed about it. I do miss him. Sure, it would have been great if he could have been in my life or got to meet my future partners or got to meet more of my friends or meet my kids when I have kids or be around for the rest of my life. You know, that sucks, but everything happens for a reason in my mind, and I feel like he enriched my life so much and enriched so many other people's lives as well, and especially in his passing, he had such a impact on so many people in such a positive way, and I don't know, he is kind of like I will always see as like an icon, and those who didn't get to stay with us, those who died too young, always seem to leave a legend behind. And yeah, I made it through this video without crying, so that's a plus. And I hope that if any of you guys out there have a sibling or somebody that you've lost or a best friend, that this video helped you feel like it's okay to move on, it's okay to let go, but they will always still be with you and their energy will always be there. Our spirit will always live on. And you can always think about it, and you can always look back on the memories that you had together and all those kinds of things. Unless I'm giving myself a hug. But yeah, that's it for this video. As always, I just wanted to remind you guys to be weird, be wild, and stay sparkly. And I will catch you guys in the next video, whatever that may be. Namaste.